Now, one of the things that we found out here in Churchill, which is, I think, the most important single adaptation that polar bears have for life in the Arctic, and that is their ability to go into a hibernation-like physiological state at any time of the year. If you take food away from a brown bear or a black bear in July or August, it'll starve to death. If you do that with a polar bear, in about 10 days, it's switched over to a hibernation-like. So all these bears that are walking around here, they're essentially in the same physiological condition as the pregnant females that are in their dens. They're in a kind of walking hibernation. And we did this with a fellow named Ralph Nelson from the University of Illinois with breath samples. And then over here in the polar bear jail, we did some feeding experiments and found that we could feed bears, stop feeding them, feed them again, take them in and out of this hibernation-like physiology. And through an environment where things are liable to be a little unpredictable, that is a huge advantage, because especially when you get to certain times of the year, being able to use your fat a little bit more efficiently is an awfully important. Whenever it is you need to do it, is very important adaptation. Now, polar bears eat a variety of things. We'll talk more about ring seals here in a minute. Here's an adult, and they eat the fat and so on. They also go out and eat harp seals, hooded seals, bearded seals. These are really big guys, 300 or 400 kilos. Ring seals are small, 30 to 40 kilos. They'll kill walruses, but maybe these big things can only be killed by the adult males. But it's really the ring seals that the relationship with, and one of the things that we wanted to put a lot of emphasis on when I came into polar bear work and where we emphasized through the years was what was the relationship between polar bears, seals, and sea ice conditions. How they all evolved in relationship to each other, and it's really quite remarkable. The ring seal is the primary prey of polar bears, but not just any ring seal. The pups are born about the 1st of April, and they take about 6 weeks to wean. And at that time, they're about 50% fat by wet weight, and they're not very smart about predators. So as a friend of mine likes to say, they're like M&Ms out on there on the ice waiting to be scooped up. So come about early to mid-May through the breakup. That 2 to 2.5 month period is when polar bears in this part of the world will take on probably 70 to 80% of the energy they'll use for the entire year. In other parts of the Arctic, it may be a little bit less, but it's still the most important thing that they eat and the time. We'll come back to that. The ring seals, when the ice is freezing up, they live in the fast ice. They live in the ice that's accessible to the bears all the time. And when the ice is freezing up, it has cracks in it. And as the winter progresses, it gets freezes over, and there's pressure ridges, and they maintain a breathing hole. They do that with the claws on their foreflippers, and each seal will keep 3, 4, 5 breathing holes open, because if it only has one, the bear finds it and is waiting there, he's in bad shape and he needs to breathe. And then the pregnant females in the springtime then will dig out a very small little lair underneath that snowdrift, which is usually only about that high. That's probably why ring seals have stayed so small, because if they got big like most of the other polar seals, they wouldn't fit in those snowdrifts anymore. They wouldn't be able to use that protection from predation. But the bears know they're there, and you can tell by all these tracks all over the place that there's lots of seal lairs with these little guys inside them. The bears are looking for them. And here's a bear just about to break through a lair. And any of you who have been in the Arctic in the spring know that snow is like concrete. It's just absolutely, you could drive a truck over it. So this is an 800 or 900 pound bear. He's got to really pound a few times to even get through, but he's also got to do a number of things, because sound goes through ice and snow like anything. And we found, first time I saw this, okay. First time, this is my buddy Steve sabotaging me with his grocery control here. Got a sense of humor. First time I saw a bear do this, he walked along, and you could see from over here, it looks like he smelled and scented something. He walked over here, he stood, and then he come over to here, and he's standing, and he put his front feet, Oh, that's what it is. Okay. Put his front feet right behind right in front of his back feet, and he stood there. He looked like a dog about to defecate, and I thought that was what he was going to do. And after 45 minutes, nothing had happened. I thought, oh, this bear's got a problem. Well, what he was doing, and as we started to do more work on vocalizations and underwater recordings of seals, I realized that the slightest bit of movement of a muckluck or bear paw, and we could hear the bears walking around with our hydrophones. It just goes through the ice like that. So what he's doing is he's keeping most of his weight on his hind feet. And when he smells or hears or thinks there's something coming up, he doesn't have to move his feet. He just very slowly, it's very dramatic to watch. They lift up those forepaws just and then pow down as hard as they can go. Sometimes there's a couple of rapid pow and away they go. So that's what they're doing.